Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Burundi, it's a lot of the. I figured some of the series would be over by now, but the playoffs are still going in all four series.
Yeah, well, I mean, were you? I guess some of them, could have potentially, could have gone sooner, but I didn't have any of them really ending that quickly. Originally, I guess once the Rangers got up 3-0, I
Yeah.
thought maybe they would have had it, but that series is a completely different story now.
Yeah, once they were up by 3 is what I meant. I definitely thought that series would be over come game 6, which we are now waiting for. It is 3-2 in that series. I figured Florida had a decent chance to sweep the Bruins, but I mean, Florida's up 3-1. We'll get into that a little bit more as well later. And it's Vancouver leading 2-1 over Edmonton after another close game. And Dallas is up 3-1 after tonight on the Avs, and we got some big news coming out of that series. Do you have anywhere you feel like starting, really?
I do. Before we do that, just want to kind of quickly go through these for anyone who's a fan of the CHL, so the Canadian Hockey League, which features the QMJHL, the WHL, and the OHL. For anyone who follows along with it, or kind of knows a little bit about it but doesn't pay super close attention, just kind of want to do a quick recap of where those are at. All 3 leagues are in their finals to go off to the Memorial Cup. In the WHL, the Moose Jaw Warriors are currently up 2-0 over the Portland Winterhawks. In the QMJHL, I'm just gonna say Drummondville, because I don't know how to pronounce half the team names over there.
Fair enough.
And Baie-Comeau, I think is how you pronounce that. That's how I'm doing it. Drummondville is currently up 3-0 in that series. And then as of tonight, the London Knights are now officially up 3-0 over the what was the team name? The Oshawa Generals.
Yeah, Oshawa. So
and that actually coming from Oshawa was actually, they were down 2-0 in the series. They had a 5-goal lead at one point during the game against London, and London ended up coming back to win in double overtime to go up 3-0 now.
So I don't really follow the the CHL super close. I know of it, and I know a lot of the teams, but I don't, keep too close an eye on it. Have the London Knights ever been bad? It feels like I only hear about them winning.
Yeah, no, they're usually always pretty good. Yeah, they're and it just comes from good management. Like, it's got the
it must, right?
The Hunter brothers kind of running the show there, and so like they've just great management there, great hockey minds, kind of running the show for them, and it's worked from great GM, great. I mean, they're the owners, the coach, like it's them doing it all. So
they're just like everything. Wow.
Yeah. I'm pretty, as far as I know right now, unless something changed within the last couple months, like they're the GM and the coach. One is each, and it's
interesting.
And they own the team. Like, that's just their show, and they're running it, and it's incredible the amount of success that they've had there, and not only that, like the talent that's come out of that program and into the NHL is also really impressive.
Yeah. There's a couple specific stories with pretty much all of the remaining 4 NHL playoff series. So we'll talk about each of those as we talk about the series. Do you have a series you want to start with?
Because it's probably the one we're going to get through the quickest, I think we do the Rangers Hurricanes.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because kind of all the other ones have like a kind of a big major storyline or thing that's come out of it, whereas this one it's really
a lot of headlines.
Yeah, well, kind of our 3 big headlines that we have coming into this one. I mean, this one, like we mentioned, Rangers were up 3-0 over the Hurricanes, and then maybe looking like we're going to get another overtime between them in game 4. Bad penalty by the Rangers. Hurricanes score. That goal actually made the Hurricanes power play even, because they were technically a negative because of the shorthanded goal against. And obviously, you know, hang on to win that game. And then, you know, tonight, I mean, down 1-0. The comebacks kind of started by their captain, Jordan Stahl, and the rest of the team just fell in line. And
They just ran the Rangers show in the third period, really. Like,
yeah. Also worth noting, Jacob Trouba scoring the Rangers' only goal. It was a shorthanded goal. So Carolina's power play is back down to a negative in this series
how
after
does
5
Trouba
games.
score a shorthanded goal?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's pretty goofy.
But
yeah, good for the Hurricanes for making it at least a proper feeling series. It feels like a lot of them this year have been, pretty handily, So it's nice, especially in the later rounds. Like the first round when Rangers sweeping the Caps, that's a pretty big mismatch. That's fine, but when you see a team that, fought through and won a series in the first round and then they just get swept in the second or in the third, it's always like, I don't know, it just feels a little like, how do you get to this point and there's such a skill difference?
Yeah, and it's all. I mean, it's also created the talking point of Carolina, even if they go out in Game 6 now, say, there's talk of has this saved Rod Brendamore's job, being able to come back in the series, and at least if you're going to lose, at least it was kind of a really close competitive series against a really good Rangers team, rather than it being oh, you got swept again, like type of thing. So again, like not a whole lot to say on it, but it's been a very impressive showing by the Hurricanes so far in the last 2 games. They're winning. I mean, they were able to finally get the upper hand on the Rangers in a close, gritty game that kind of came down to one bounce, one penalty, one goal, whatever you want to call it. And then tonight, I mean, down 1-0, season on the line, and you go out there and score 4 unanswered goals to really put a statement on the win. They're looking good right now, and it'll be interesting to see how the Rangers can kind of try and come back and counter that.
Win 2 in a row at this point.
Yeah, exactly right. Like and that's the thing, right? It's really, you got to look at it like they just have to win Game 6, and they're going back home for it. And then if they win that, anything can happen in Game 7. Even though the Rangers are the home team and whatnot, anything can happen when you got 2 great teams in a Game 7. So really, like all eyes are on that game. If they can, win that one, they've got a really good shot at potentially pulling off a reverse sweep, which we don't really ever see them. Hasn't happened in million years, huh? Right? It's not within the last 10 years, but
not even.
But yeah, really excited to see how this series kind of plays out here. From what went to be looking like kind of being the boring series, might really turn into one of the ones it's like, if there was multiple Game 7s on, that would be the one you want to tune into.
Yeah.
Which one do you want now?
Let's finish out the East. Let's go to Panthers Bruins.
Panthers Bruins. All right. Florida up 3-1 in the series.
Yep.
Kind of where we thought they'd be.
Yeah. These are, as a Lightning fan, these are probably like I don't know if they're my 2 least favorite teams, but they're at least 2 of the top 3. Especially the way the Panthers play. And
what we've seen.
Yeah, and it's insane. It's been so long since I've seen the Bruins. Like, I'm not saying the Bruins like have the refs in their pockets or anything, but it feels like the Bruins are one of those teams that very rarely gets screwed over by the refs.
Yeah,
I feel like they've been screwed over by the refs in this series.
In my opinion, not only the refs, but also the Department of Player Safety.
Yeah, which I guess I often think of also, as one and the same, but it definitely is a separate entity.
Yeah, totally separate. Totally separate thing.
Yeah, that mainly that Sam Bennett punch on Brad Marchand.
I think that was the turning point of the series.
Yeah, well, they lost.
That changed everything.
What is he? At very minimum, their third best player?
I mean,
like if you're really high on McAvoy, or if you're
the thing is I'd just say they're second best forward.
Yeah,
It's tough to
their
compare forwards and
captain.
defensemen in that. Yeah,
Like,
their
and
leader.
and he just got sucker punched, and they didn't call it on the ice. They looked at it after the game and they said, "We are not going to do any supplemental discipline for it."
Yeah.
And i- it's Sam Bennett. Like, he's not a guy given the benefit of the doubt. Check the tapes again, because like, are they stupid and they didn't see all the angles that we got to see, or are they maliciously choosing to ignore a punch to the face?
Yeah.
Like,
Not
he's
only not
missed
only that,
2
a sucker
games.
punch. Like a
He's missed
sucker
2
punch to a
games because of concussion protocol. Like, that's madness.
yeah. And it's a a sucker punch to an unsuspecting player who's in a vulnerable position. And then, just to really just really rub because that happened in game
3.
uh yeah. So then, I mean, and then to just really rub salt in the wound. So Sam Bennett's not suspended. And then Bruins are up 2-1 going into the third period against Florida. And who scores a power play goal to tie the game? Sam Bennett. And not only on top of that, kind of a controversial um, call there. Bruins obviously challenged it for goalie interference, and it was deemed not goalie interference. You can debate on that. It's um, kind of up in the air, but I mean, still for
It's
Sam
yeah.
Bennett to score
It's
that
not
goal
a
is like
it's not a
that's just a
incredibly obvious goalie interference. Like, it's not one way or the other, cut and dry, but I would say that's goalie interference. And obviously,
I would
just as
agree.
a
So
Lightning fan who got 2 goalie interference goals taken back against the Panthers in these playoffs, it's a little annoying to see them get those 50-50 calls when we were denied 2 in a row.
yeah, yeah, and then you could just see right from there, like when you see the guy that threw a cheap shot and took out your captain like that, like your leader, your most aggressive forward, like we said, their second best forward, like their heart and soul guy, and then he scores the goal doing that to tie the game. Like you could just totally see momentum shift, and you just kind of saw from there. And it's like you know what, I think the Bruins are done. Like not only this game, but I think that's it.
Yeah, they're not coming
Um,
back to win 3 in a row on
not against
Florida.
not against this Florida team and the way Florida's been playing.
No.
I mean, it's not
And,
to say Florida's only up 3-1 because of the refs. Like Florida is the better team, and they have outplayed the Bruins.
yeah, and that's exactly what I said against the Lightning as well. Like, I feel like they got a bit of preferential treatment, but like, they didn't need it. They're a good, hard-hitting, playoff-built team. They could win without that.
Yeah.
It's just annoying that they're not having to win without the calls.
Yeah, and when especially when it's two great teams like this that you just want to see go head to head, it's just reffing aside, I think it's just really the Sam Bennett thing. To see that happen, and not only the fact that, like, for Boston again, you're losing the guy in Marchand, and Florida walks away clean from it. So it's now like Florida's getting no repercussions for a huge, massive loss to your team. And as good as the Bruins are, like Marchand, kind of drives the bus. Like he's the engine in the train. Like it's just a
Yeah.
huge loss for them. And it kind of, as soon as Bennett scored that goal, it was just like, yeah, like it's Boston can put up a fight, maybe push it 6. Maybe start some fights and maybe be like, hey, you know what, we're taking some of you guys down with us. But yeah, it's pretty kind of clear that Florida's moving on here.
Yeah, and I didn't have too much of a horse in the race between the Rangers and Hurricanes. I'm not a huge fan of either team, but I really want to see the Rangers win now, just because I want to see Trouba and Rempe go out there and see if the Panthers are as big as they play like they are with guys like that
Yeah.
on the ice. Because
Yeah, that would,
like,
you know what,
they're-
might change it up a bit.
yeah, a lot of teams have those bigger guys. Bruins even brought in Pat Maroon, but he's not. A lot of those guys, they play their game and then they also get into the shithousery. Rempe, watching him play, he's skating around 30% of his brain focused on the play, 70% of it going, where's the guy with the puck and is he in a spot I can hit him? He is
Yeah.
out there looking to body people. And I would love to see him matched up against Sam Bennett, Nick Cousins, Matthew Tkachuk on that Panthers team.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I'm hoping that's the matchup we get, just because I think that would give us the most entertaining series, because I really don't want, I mean, if a team in the Eastern Conference wins, you know what, so be it. I'm not really rooting for any of these teams, so I'm kind of just rooting for what can give us the most exciting series out of them. And I think it is when you get the Rangers versus the Panthers.
Yeah.
Speaking, well, we were talking about Bennett not getting a suspension. Let's talk about the guy now who did get the suspension, in that being Carson Soucy of the Vancouver Canucks. Also on the same play, Nikita Zadorov getting the maximum fine for cross-checking, and Soucy also getting
that maximum being $5,000.
1 game for and Soucy also getting 1 game for cross-checking. Do you want to break it down? What happened, or what's going on with it?
Which guy laid the first cross check? Have you seen the clip?
Mm-hmm. So it was after the the buzzer had already went. McDavid and Soucy were kind of into a battle. Oilers fans say Soucy started it by cross checking McDavid. It was a push. It wasn't anything bad.
Yeah, he just pushed him on
McDavid gives a pretty good whack to Soucy. Soucy gives a whack back, and then this is the unfortunate part for Carson Soucy.
I was gonna say, I don't think Soucy did on purpose.
No, he's already kind of in the motion. You can start to see his hands come up. He's going to just kind of deliver a cross check to the chest of McDavid.
Yeah,
obviously, still shouldn't do that. But as he was going to do that, Zadorov comes up and cross checks McDavid kind of in the lower back from behind. McDavid falls forward, and his face, his mouth, his jaw just happens to meet right when Soucy's coming up for the cross check, and he gets McDavid up in the face there.
Right in the face.
And so again, it's like, it's such a weird one, because it's like that Soucy's clearly not intending to do it, but it's like he did still do it. And so, that's kind of where I was kind of wondering how the Department of Player Safety was going to handle it. And obviously they did rule on it. What Soucy did was not a hockey play. It was a dangerous play, and it was after the game had already ended.
Nothing going on there was a hockey play. It was all after the buzzer.
Yeah. And so they ended up deciding on a 1 game suspension for him, which I don't hate, I don't love. I can see the arguments to both sides. I'm a firm believer that if it was Corey Perry in there stirring the pot and it happened to him, there would be no suspension. I think it really is, a large part is because it did happen to McDavid.
It was pretty vicious.
It was, but if it happened to a Corey Perry, no chance.
But he did.
But if it happened to Corey Perry, no chance there would be a suspension. There would be a fine, but I don't think a suspension.
I don't know if Soucy should have got a suspension or not, because you're right, it was accidental. McDavid bent down at least a foot before getting hit with the cross check already in motion. Because if you board a guy and it's a big hit, a clean hit, but then he gets injured, sometimes you'll get that fine, but it's always up to interpretation. Mm-hmm. I definitely think Zadorov should have got a suspension. That was a vicious cross check to the back, right in the small of the spine. He put his full weight behind that. I would have liked to see Zadorov get at least 1 or 2 games. If Zadorov got a fine, nothing, 1 game, I think any of those are reasonable. Any more than 1 game would be too much for what is clearly, was going to be a cross check to the chest, but he accidentally got him in the face. But Zadorov's the 3rd man in. It's a pretty vicious cross check. I personally would say he should have probably got 2 games for it.
I think if Zadorov got suspended as well, I think McDavid does too. For the slash, I think they would have had to justify, because I don't think the Department of Player Safety...
slash wasn't that bad, though. You know what? If they do suspend Zadorov on that play for, say, 2 games, then I think you can't suspend Soucy for it, because... Yeah,
I just don't think the Department of Player Safety could sit there and be like, all right, kind of McDavid started this, and now we're suspending 2 Canucks defensemen.
But
I don't like.
if it happened during the play, like if say that happened with 10 minutes left in the game after a whistle,
Mhm.
both guys are just, so McDavid hits him with the slash, and then say he gets the cross check on the chest like he wanted. Both guys are just going to the box for 2 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
neither are vicious enough, but it
Mhm.
became vicious because of Zadorov's cross check. So, you know what? I think there should have been only one suspension, and it should have been on Zadorov, because
My
it
biggest
was a pretty vicious cross check, and he clearly targeted. He wasn't just pushing him; like he would have hit him in the upper back if he was just pushing him. He hit him in the small of the back. It's intent to injure, honestly, in my opinion. Right where he hits, it really looks like he was trying to damn near cripple him.
looking at Bennett not getting suspended, another thing that I know some people have kind of thought is maybe Zadorov got a little bit of a, kind of just a little slap on the wrist as opposed to a suspension because, earlier in the series, I was pretty shocked that there was nothing for it. Derek Ryan getting nothing for his vicious spear on Nils Höglander, which again is intent to injure and a very dangerous play, and there was nothing for it. So
There's been a
I
couple
really,
spears in these playoffs, and none of them have been penalized.
yeah, like as much as people are kind of like, I know, and people love to complain about the refs. I think really the only team that can say, oh, the refs have, kind of played a factor, maybe screwed us a bit, is Boston. I think refs haven't really been a huge factor for Rangers Hurricanes. I think calls have been both ways, missed calls both ways. Same with Vancouver, Edmonton, and then really, I think the reffing has been nothing but fair in the Dallas Colorado series, really. So
Yeah, thank
the
God.
Department of Player Safety has just been like it's been pretty
Horrendous.
bad. It's been pretty bad with some of the decisions they've made, and like just no clarity on it, like why things are getting, why suspensions are being here but not for here, like where, kind of where, like where's the line, like what's considered okay and what's not at this point when looking at suspensions.
Yeah, it's just so tough to watch these things happen, because it can very easily, especially in the case of Marchand, it can change the entirety of a playoff series and the entire playoff bracket. Like, it's so
Yep.
brutal, and I'm just
Yeah.
now trying to find here the Department of Player Safety's reasoning on the Bennett one as well, because I do believe
I don't even know if
they
they put out anything about it.
I think they did put out why they didn't look at it. I want to get the wording right.
I haven't seen
But
anything on that one. It's kind of
I do believe they said it was something along the lines of it was happened fast, and it happened during, like, while both players were tied up and trying to make a hockey play. Like, they made it sound like they were tied up and he accidentally hit him in the face, as if Sam Bennett's fist accidentally comes in contact with someone's face.
So they say that and say there, it was a hockey play caught up in it, but then that does not apply to what Derek Ryan did, because his was most definitely not a hockey play, and it was a very vicious cheap shot that he delivered. So again, it's like, yeah, so where's the line? Like, is it, if it's part of a play and actually just trying to play the game, or what? Again, they always leave so many unanswered questions, it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah, and their their videos where they explain it are also, like, laughably, like, I guess just like low budget. Like,
Yeah.
the way they lay it out is very goofy. It's honestly pretty funny sometimes, as long as it's not too egregious. If you want to go out onto their website and look them up, the way they'll be like, to summarize, this guy got hit in the mouth with a stick. This is cross-checking. One game.
Yeah, pretty much, honestly, yeah. It's, yeah. but kind of moving away from
Yeah.
that stuff and just on the series itself. Vancouver is up 2-1 in the series now after winning the other night by a score of 4-3. Great game by both teams. I think the Oilers really kind of dominated lots, good portions of the game. And when Vancouver had their moments, getting outshot heavily, they capitalized on their opportunities, and it's coming from, the kind of good players on their team, but not like the star players of the team. And guys like Lindholm and Besser each putting up 2 goals.
Yeah.
And then, I mean,
the third
again,
goal
Silovs,
being swapped to Lindholm's later on. Most people thought he had that Besser had a hat trick in the first period. So
it was Besser's first goal that got
it was
changed
his
after
first
the
one that
first
got
period.
changed. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, they thought he had a hat trick, at least for a bit, and then it kind of got changed later. I didn't see if any hats were thrown at the time, but
I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember. But like, big storyline in this series is the goaltending. Stuart Skinner really hasn't been getting it done for Edmonton, and Silovs continues to really outplay his original role on the team, and has really been solid for the Canucks and has not hurt them in the slightest against not only a good Oilers team, but an Oilers team that has the best power play in NHL history. Um, I think they're at 50% right now, actually.
yeah. I mean, so that's in the playoffs, right? That's on a
Yeah,
short amount of games, but yeah, I mean, operating at that is nuts. So
yeah,
the fact that he's been able to stay in it, like, we'll go through the stats near the end of the podcast, but Artur Silovs is sitting at 5th in playoff goals saved above expected with 3.2 goals saved above expected in his 6 starts, which is pretty damn good with the teams he's had to face off, and the fact that he was an AHL goalie,
a couple months ago,
2-3 weeks ago. So like the fact that he's been playing this well is fantastic for the Canucks, because it looked really rough once their second goalie, when Casey DeSmith went down against Nashville.
And not only that, not only has he been playing good, you look at a lot of the goals that have been scored against him, it's either Edmonton's lethal power play. Can't really fault the goalie much. He's managed to kill some of them and make some big saves in them, so you can't really fault him for that. And then 2 goals that Edmonton has scored, both the overtime winner in Game 2, as well as Edmonton's third goal, coming off their own defenseman, Ian Cole. The overtime winner right off his stick and into the net. He basically deflected it in, and then a shot up high hits him and bounces to the right and goes behind Silovs and in. So like, he's really stood tall and really rose to the occasion, given the rough situation it was looking like he might be in going in.
Yeah. One thing I did want to get your opinion on. Did you see the Draisaitl quote from, I believe, yesterday at this point?
I did, yeah.
So for anyone who didn't see it, I believe the quote was, posts aren't
good goaltending.
Posts aren't good goaltending. Saying that in their 4-3 loss to the Canucks the other day in Game 3, that he kind of got bailed out by his posts a bit. It was a very close game, 1 goal. That's fair enough, but my response would be, posts aren't good shooting.
Yep, yeah, exactly. Like, it's not a
every
shot on
time
net.
he brings it off the post, it's not a shot on net. So, fair enough. He didn't get those, but does he have to save every shot that goes past the net as well? How about the ones that go over the glass? Like, you only got to save the ones that are going in.
He was that, like, even though you put it by him, the post is right there. He's covering the net.
Yeah,
like he's forcing you to those areas. So, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it, and it's also like, you know what? Look at what this kid's done. The fact that he's, I mean, I like Draisaitl. Yeah. He's a good, he's getting to that point where he's like a veteran in the league. Classy guy, but it's like,
again,
it's like
that. He's He's right up there with
he
Kucherov and Malkin. He gets pissed off and he does
yeah,
dumb
he
shit.
plays on the edge, but like he is always respectful to guys out there and whatnot, I feel like. But like it's again, you look at it, it's like you said 3 weeks ago, this guy's an AHL goalie. And he got Vancouver through the first round. He's in the second round. You guys just put up 44 shots on him. You only got 3 goals. Again, one of them, your phenomenal power play, and then a shot from the point that goes off Vancouver's defenseman and in. It's like, how can you not at least have some respect for what this guy's doing? Like, I get he's on,
And I
he's
bet
because your
he
opponent,
does.
your enemy, but it's like show a little bit of respect to the guy. Like
No, see, and that part somehow I also disagree because I think Draisaitl's doing this to try and rattle the kid. I think he's
the
wanting
kid
him.
doesn't give a shit what Draisaitl
He,
has to say.
are you sure? What is he? 22 coming into the league? If the guy against you says, "Yeah, this goalie sucks. We're gonna beat him," it
Yeah, when he's
it's
sitting there
something
like, look
there.
at it, we're up 2-1, and you're crying about hitting post because you can't beat me. Like
Maybe, but
I don't think he
these
would
are
give
the
a shit
games
what
that
Draisaitl has to say.
I think this is exactly what Draisaitl's doing. I think he's trying to get into his head to try and maybe shake him a little bit. Next time the power play's on and he sees Draisaitl wind up for a one timer, if he does a fake one timer into a pass, maybe he bites a little more on the shot. Just I think it's one of those mind games. I think it's like when coaches say something out of character in the playoffs. Like it's like that. It's like they're just trying to play the mental game. They don't fully believe what they're saying. They're just trying to get in their head a little. We're seeing it over in the Bruins series as well. 2 games in a row, the post game, Maroons come out and been like, "Yeah, nobody's willing to fight me on the Panthers. They're all babies." So, and people have yet to fight him, and that's probably because what they're doing is working, like you said. But
See, but then
I think it's a mental
Draisaitl
game.
just looks like an absolute clown if they lose this series, because then it's like
No, I don't think
you're thinking a
people are going to
kid's
look
not
back and say
a
they
good goalie, and he just dunked on you guys. Like this
nobody's going to
great
remember
Edmonton
the
Oilers
quote in a
team
week.
is.
It's going to be
No,
about
Vancouver fans will bring it up.
McDavid didn't win another cup again. Like
Trust
he
me,
needs to win one.
Vancouver fans will bring it up. Both them and Edmonton fans, they hold on to everything that's said to use if their team ends up winning. It's been a war between the two sides.
I think it's just Draisaitl trying to get in their head a little bit.
Well,
I think it happens a dozen times each
instead
round.
of trying to get into heads, he should work on hitting the net.
I mean, we'll talk about him later when we get to the scoring race, but he's putting him in the net.
Well, apparently not enough to get pouty about it. And then we do have the last series that's kind of got the biggest news that came just an hour before the game.
And that had to be tough news for that locker room to get.
I think they knew well before.
Yeah.
There's no way it was dropped on them. Like a lot of guys show up to the rink 3 hours before a game.
Right.
And there's already news of it like previously in the day. There was like rumors that like and no one knew what it was. It was just like Nichushkin might not be playing tonight. So I think the players did know, but they just didn't release it until kind of right before warm-up started, so people weren't wondering like, oh, like what the hell is going on? Where is he? Type thing. And then
because
you've got another Nylander Matthews type situation.
Yeah, like Nichushkin is currently tied for the league lead in in playoff goals. He's got 9 goals in 8 games.
He almost set an NHL record in the previous game. He obviously coming up just short, but I mean,
he tied it.
He was like just a force for the Avs, and like again scoring a lot of goals, a huge part of their offense. And before we go, do you want to break down kind of what happened there?
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw out the record that he tied was most goals, the longest goal streak to start playoffs. So in his
Doing that
first
in
7 games, he had a goal in at least every game. One of them he had a hat trick. But Nichushkin is been put into, I believe they call it phase 3 of of the players' assistance program. He has been suspended for 6 months. He is completely done in these playoffs after a failed random drug test.
No, that's 6 months without pay.
6 months without pay, yeah.
And he will have to apply for reinstatement to the league afterwards and go
at
through
the
a
end of those
series
6
of
months.
yeah,
Yeah.
like crazy.
9 goals in 8 games. Like, and that's so brutal for the Avs. That are down 2-3 or 2-1 in the series before that game, and of course they lost that game tonight, so they're now down 3-1 in the series.
And you know what the
This
shitty
is
part is as well?
what's that?
The record we were talking about. There's always going to be an asterisk next to it now.
Well, no, because
I've already seen people saying that.
no, because he didn't score. He didn't score in the one
Yeah,
game.
but like, who knows? Like, we don't know, what he's been taking, what he's been doing. So it's,
Oh, you're saying
starting
there's an
to-
asterisk beside the record he did get, not because
Yeah.
he didn't break it. I see.
yeah,
That's
because
very
I mean,
fair.
it's like you don't, like you don't know what's been going on.
That's
one
actually a
th-
really interesting point I have not at all
Yeah.
thought about. What if the Avs were up 3-1 in this series and then they went, "Oh, he's been doing cocaine the whole series. We don't know if it's cocaine. He just failed a random drug test." But say
Yeah.
it's something that, jacks you up like a madman, and they were like, "Oh, this guy's been playing the whole playoffs like this." Like,
Yeah.
is it fair to let the Stars get beat because Nichushkin was going at over a goal a game doing this? Like, who knows? Maybe the Jets got screwed. Like, it's obviously that series was a lot less close, but that's very
It's-
interesting. I assume nothing comes of it if Dallas wins, but
Yeah. Like I think,
It's an
and
interesting
especially
thought.
like Dallas is up 3-1 now. I think it's just, tough for Colorado. You lose your guy, but it's like, one other thing with it. So, like you mentioned, he is in stage 3 of it. So 6 months suspended, no pay, has to apply for reinstatement and go through the process to get back into the league. Should he get back into the league and fail again, he would go into stage 4, which is then a year-long suspension without pay, and reinstatement is not assured. There is chance that the league could just be like, "You're done. We're not, letting you back." Like, then you really have to, take the whole year, go through the process, and you have to prove that you're, you know, capable of coming back and you're ready. And at that point, I'm not even sure if there's teams that would take a flyer on you at that point. And
I mean, a team
as
probably
someone,
would for a guy that good for $1 million a year. Like, but I mean, you're
maybe,
not
I think
making
at that point
you're
you would
not
just,
you're not taking you're not getting much money. You're
yeah,
definitely not getting even half of what you're making now, and
yeah,
it's brutal because I don't think we've mentioned it yet, but this is the second playoffs, not even just year in a row, playoffs in a row where
that he's done this to
Nichushkin
his
has
team.
been suspended because of outside stuff, because of stuff outside of the game on the ice.
Yeah.
I don't know if we ever got the full details of what happened last time. I believe it was drugs, among other things.
Yeah, it's still kind of a very blurry story, but like we know that there was, it was either just a large amount of alcohol or there was other substances involved that took place in a hotel room in Seattle, with between Nichushkin and another female, and I know that she ended up having to go to the hospital. That's kind of really all the details that we kind of know for sure.
I kind of thought there was somebody else involved, but I wasn't sure. Yeah, it's
not to my knowledge at least.
Yeah.
Of like anyone else outside those two. One person on Twitter did say that stage 5 is listening to Leah Hextall on an endless loop for 6 months. So I mean,
oh no,
hey, you reach stage 5. That's the price you got to pay. That's what you got to go through. So pretty stern lines are set for Nichushkin. And again, like it's 2 years in a row. Actually, I'm just pulling up the quote here. So Jack Johnson, defenseman for the Avalanche, was asked after the game tonight about Nichushkin, and all he had to say was he made his decisions. That's all I'm going to say on that. He made his decisions.
You know what?
And then
That
also underneath stating that Nichushkin's nameplate has already been removed out of the Avs locker room.
You know what? That a lot of people might think that's nothing. That is a huge statement to me.
That is a very
Him
huge
saying
statement.
he made this choice, like he chose whatever substance he failed that drug test for
Yeah.
over the team, over
Yep.
success, over the playoffs. That locker, Nate McKinnon runs a tight ship. I don't think
Oh yeah.
Nichushkin's playing there again.
Yeah. I mean, if
That
it was
that
like
speaks
if it was
volumes.
this year, okay, sure. But the fact that it is back to back years and is going to be back to back years where
Back to
he could
back
have been the
playoff years, no less. Like that's
yeah.
obviously when the players are really stressed about it and everything's about the game. Like I'm sure these guys can barely enjoy their off days because they're so focused on getting the next one. So
And not only that, this year, maybe it's a 2-2 series now. Maybe he's the difference maker. Last year, I think Colorado wins that series if he's there. I
it
think
was this
Colorado
like
probably does. Like it
it
was a
went to
game
game
7.
7.
I think he's the difference maker that gives the Avs the edge.
It
And
was a
again, it's
very
just like
close series and it was already an upset. Yeah, like it definitely could be.
it's just brutal. And again, back to back years, you put yourself as an individual and over the team. And I get that addiction is a thing. Like it's stuff. It's a real thing that happens to people, and that's
Yeah.
obviously what he is. We're pretty much positive that is kind of what he's dealing with. But again, like that's a very clear message. Like 2 years in a row, he made his decisions over the team, and
Yeah.
no one what it
Cuz he was
the
put in the
price.
assistance program before and like I don't fully know how it works every
I
in
mean,
and
he's
out,
gone through it twice.
but I like to assume that they would have, sent him to a rehab or, tried to get him sober during that like so,
Has there
did
been a
he just
player that's failed
yeah,
after doing it once? Like, I can't think
that's
of a guy that's
failed?
entered it twice, let
Um
alone a third time, and not only that, being forced by the league.
yeah, I don't think so. I definitely think they're guys that could have in the history of the league, but
Oh, I mean,
I don't
could
think
have
anybody's
probably,
been
yeah.
caught that many times at the
Yeah, and
very
the fact that
least.
it's like the league is forcing you into this now, um, and again, you have to apply for reinstatement. Like, there's a chance that he never plays in the NHL again.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like, he's got, you know, 6 months that he's gotta go through it, and then he's gotta do whatever it takes to prove if he actually wants to come back. Like, he still has to sell himself till he has to prove himself. Like, it's not 6 months of you're suspended and welcome back. It's 6 months and then show us you're able to come back. And we're
yeah.
not gonna have to do this again, next year in the playoffs or something.
Just
So s
Googling
and
to make sure I this is a good amount of speculation, but Nichushkin is Russian, so there's
yeah,
always he could always go absolutely dominate the KHL if things
yeah.
do go the worst for him. Dude's 29 years old, clearly in his prime. I like to think he wasn't hopped up on something in those games, but again, 9 goals in 8 games in the playoffs this year so far. So he's a very good player. Hopefully he can clean it up, get properly sober, and
Also from
not have to worry about it going forward. But, for a
yeah,
lot of people, addiction is a constant struggle for the rest of their lives. And hopefully he
yeah.
can find a way to overcome it.
Not only that for Nichushkin, like, if he's not able to come back and get reinstated, like, that's a lot of money he's leaving on the table.
Yeah.
Like 40 million. He's on the second year of an 8-year deal where he's making just a little bit over 6 million per year. Like, he's got 6 more years after this season of making that much money just to play hockey. Like, it's
Yeah. He could
it's
even be
going to be very
bad.
interesting to see what he
Like if he just
what
played like a
happens
fourth
here.
liner or even below NHL level, he still gets that money.
It's all money going his way
So
eventually.
the fact that this is happening and he might, his contract might end up getting fully terminated is pretty rough.
Yeah. Yeah. again, like you said, obviously we hope nothing but the best from. We hope,
Yeah.
this is it. Like this is he goes through this, he comes out better, and this is it. And we can get him, have him healthy in the league, have him just engaged in the game, and really see what he can be capable of sticking on a newer path. Um,
Yeah.
Moving on to just the
It's
series as a
it's
whole.
yeah, it's
Oh,
disappointing just because we are rooting for him because people
yeah,
wanted it to not happen again, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah, exactly.
but yeah, what if other than that, what have you thought about this series so far?
I mean, I think Dallas has just been terrific. Up 3-1 in the series. Um, you know, Tonight was obviously, a tough game for Colorado, finding out the whole Nichushkin thing, and then also finding out that Devon Taves, due to an illness, will not be playing. Caleb Jones slots in on defense for him. He takes 2 penalties in the game, which obviously
Oof.
wasn't great. But again, like Dallas really dominated this game. The shots were 18-2 at one point. The ice was just completely tilted, and Dallas walks away with a 5-1 win. Wyatt Johnston getting another 2 goals tonight, the night before his 21st birthday. So it is obviously, probably past midnight where they're at now. So he's probably maybe having his first legal beer on the plane with the boys back home. Um, and he had an empty net opportunity to get the hat trick, and he slides it off to Sam Steele to score that 5th goal to really ice the game. He has been just nothing but impressive for Dallas. Has been their MVP, and again, he's only 21 now. Like he was doing this as a 20-year-old. Um,
Yeah,
just incredible.
I'm sure Dallas Stars fans have been excited about him since he was drafted. But I really did not have this guy on my radar at all, and he just showed up and has been so good and so dominant.
Yeah.
He's going to be a mainstay on this team, and he's going to be a scary player.
Not only that,
I mean, he
playing in
already
all,
is,
all
but going forward,
situations. Like
yeah,
2 goals tonight, one shorthanded to get the ball rolling for the Stars and scoring a power play goal to make it 2-0. Um, Absolutely incredible. And they're going to rely a lot on him, as we're not entirely sure what the situation is with Rupe Hintz, who played at like 6 minutes in the first period, and then I think 1 shift in the second, and did not return to the game. Um, we don't have any word on what's going on with him. Hopefully nothing serious, as that would be a huge loss to Dallas. But it is kind of nice to know that they do have these younger guys that have really stepped up and can help fill that void, that something they didn't have last year, which
yeah.
was this just insane depth that they have.
Yeah, and like this guy was only drafted 3 years ago, 23rd overall. Like that's
Yeah.
pretty quick to get to the NHL in like at that draft spot. Less alone be like a mainstay of the roster, and like he scored 30 goals this year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Oh
he
yeah,
hit
he
30.
easily
He's
did.
like
Yeah, he had
he's
33.
he's one of the top scorers for Dallas in these
Not only
playoffs,
that,
and
33 goals, only 3 power play goals. He had 30 even strength goals, or he actually maybe had a couple shorthanded goals in there. Um, but that's the thing with Dallas, is they are like the best team at drafting. Like you look at their
they've
stud,
drafted very well.
who they've got. They've like and this isn't even including like the Lindells, the Bens, like kind of the older players. Like this is just their younger players that they've drafted and brought up, and they're all still young. Like I don't think any of them really entered their full prime yet. Rupe Hintz, Wyatt Johnston, Miro Heiskanen, Jason Robertson, Logan Stankov, and Thomas Harley, and then Jake Ottinger. Like
Yeah.
that's your number one defensive pairing for the next, you know, 10 to 15 years. That's your number one line for the next 10 to 15 years. And then it's an elite, probably one of the best second line players in the league for the next 10 to 15 years, and your starting goalie, your franchise goalie, your elite goalie, who shines so good in the playoffs. It's
They're looking to be one of the
incredible.
teams to beat. In my eyes, they're one of the 3 teams to beat right now.
Yeah, the way they've been playing right now, I mean, 7-2 since going down 2-0 to Vegas in the first round. They're firing on all cylinders, and the team looks really good. And it's just tough for Colorado to, you're kind of in a dogfight in this series, could go either way, and then your top goal scorer and your second best defenseman both out all of a sudden. It's just a huge blow to that team, and I really feel for them. That's got to be a tough spot to kind of be in.
Yeah. So I think we just have one more thing before we get into the all the stats at the end here.
Actually, before we do that, I just want to ask you one question with Edmonton. What does Edmonton do for their goalie? What do you think they do for Game 4 tomorrow? Do you think they stick with Skinner, despite what he's done? Do you think they go with Calvin Pickard, who's kind of been actually a serviceable backup since being called up from the AHL? Or, does the big Undertaker gong hit and the lights come on? It's Jack Campbell in that. What are you thinking they do?
You can't. I don't think you can do Jack Campbell.
I don't think you can. I think it would be hilarious, but I
think they got to go with Stuart Skinner. Give him another shot.
Yeah,
he's the guy who's done it before. Calvin Pickard's been fine. Do you feel like if you get the best Calvin Pickard has shown you, I think you still don't have a great chance to win the series. If you get the best of Stuart Skinner, I think you got yourself a series there.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Stuart Skinner steal a game for Edmonton in the first round. I mean, obviously, Vancouver's a totally different beast than what LA was. But people are throwing all these crazy things of like they do this. It's like I think you just got to ride with Skinner. Like that was your guy all year. You didn't make a move for a goalie at the deadline because you trusted in him. Like that's your guy, and you gotta, if you go out and bring in a new goalie in the offseason, so be it. But like this is your guy that you've been with. I think you kind of you have no choice but to stick with him.
Yeah.
All right, we got that cleared up. So now, just the last thing we had.
Yeah. So we're gonna go through all 8 remaining teams in the playoffs, and we're just we did not do too much research on this or anything like that. We are just gut instincts, each gonna say our current Conn Smythe winner for each team, if hypothetically each of these teams go to win the cup.
Yeah, based off right now, kind of the MVP of the team, like who, if they won the cup today, who would get the Conn Smythe?
Yeah.
What team do you want to start with?
Generally, we've been doing pretty much the same order for most of these things, so I think we'll start with the Rangers and Hurricanes. So let's start with the Rangers. Who do you got there?
The Rangers. This one was a pretty easy one for me. It's Shesterkin.
See, I figured. I think most people have Shesterkin. Personally, I'm going with Mika Zibanejad. I think Shesterkin's the popular answer, and because of that, probably the right answer. But
you could definitely make a case for Zibanejad for sure.
Yeah, Zibanejad's been great. Power play and penalty kill as well. He's been great on both of those. But I think either of those guys, even Trocheck, I think you could throw in there, and I think those are all great answers.
Yeah. You really can't go wrong with that. Zibanejad or Shesterkin both have been a huge reason of why the Rangers are, at the spot they're at right now. So Carolina. I mean,
this one's a bit closer.
Carolina's kind of the one team that it's like there's not. I feel like for every team there's like a clear standout. Guy that's kind of the unanimous. Like Carolina, you can go a lot of different ways. I'm going to go with Sebastian Aho. I think he's been their best player since the beginning. He's their top guy, and he's been delivering for them so far.
That's fair, and he is leading the team with 10 points. I'm going to go with a guy who has 9 points, Jake Guentzel. He's been every single game I've watched of the Hurricanes. He's been one of, if not the most noticeable guy in a red jersey on the ice.
I almost did go with Guentzel, but I was like, I felt like you were, so I kind of wanted to go just throw out a different name.
Fair enough.
But like Guentzel probably, I think, would win it.
Also, shout out to Brady Shea, I guess, who as a defenseman also has 9 points. So
Oh,
you
I
know what?
forgot. I forgot about Brady Shea. Actually, I might change my answer.
There's a pretty good
Yeah, I'm on the Brady Shea
answer for that.
train. I'm actually going with him. Also because of the fact that Brett Pesce went down early against the Islanders, and Brady Shea had to step into that role, and his really just ran with it. A guy that I'm pretty sure his contract's up at the end of the year. So, what
Ooh.
better time to get hot and show everybody what you can do than in the playoffs?
Yeah,
Especially
doing it
rising
in
to
the
the
playoffs.
occasion, playing out of your normal area. You're stepping into a bigger role and being relied on a lot more, and you're elevating your game. You're improving. Does a team overpay for him? Probably, but it's worth it based on what he's proven he can do in the playoffs as of right now. So,
sign and trade Brady Shea for Marner straight up.
could get it.
There's some.
And obviously not the full deal. Like there's
You could do some
huge for what Toronto would want in a great defenseman like that who can kind of show up in the playoffs right-handed. I think Carolina would need to offer a little bit more.
Yeah, you've got to move some stuff, but that could be
maybe like throw in their first round pick, assuming they don't like a first round pick and like a prospect or something, because they have thousands of prospects. Like
they have a lot.
They're gonna have to move.
Which is crazy for a team competing at this level.
Yeah, they're gonna have to move some of them and whatnot. So,
let's stay in the East and let's go with the Boston Bruins.
The Bruins. I mean, I'm still going Marchand. Like I know he's injured and whatnot, but like he has been again the engine that is the train that were the Bruins. Despite the injury, I think he's still been their MVP and again the most noticeable guy each and every game for them.
I really wanted to say.
Well, fuck! What am I doing? Am I dumb?
Yeah,
Swayman.
I was wondering. I was gonna say I wanted to pick Pasternak. You know, massive goal, Game 7 against Toronto. Big fight to rally the troops in Game 2 against Tkachuk, which is madness because Pasternak is. I did not think he was that guy, but he
overtime
really
winner.
He showed
Game
that he
7.
is. But
yeah,
no, it has to be Swayman. 11.6 goals saved above expected, clear second place in the playoffs with 2 more goals, mind you. All right, 2 more games played, not goals.
I don't know why I forgot about Swayman.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is one of the few ones where I feel like there's a rather correct answer. As much as Marchand, Pasternak, even guys like
even DeBrusk,
Brandon Carlo has been really good for them.
New father, Brandon Carlo. I think we said that at last episode, actually.
Yeah, but Swayman. It has to be Swayman. He's been lights out.
Yeah, and then the Florida Panthers. I'm going with Alexander Barkov.
Fair.
Basic answer. But I really liked his game in the playoffs a lot more than I did last year because I was pretty low on Barkov after kind of what we saw in the playoffs last year from him, and he has been an absolute machine in both ends for Florida.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like that'd be a popular answer for sure. I would have said Bobrovsky, but he's definitely come down to earth in this series more so than against Tampa. But I'm gonna go with Carter Verhaeghe. Every single goal this guy scores is like right when the team needs a goal. Like,
yeah, he does score a lot of big goals for them.
Yeah, he had like 3 game-winning goals against Tampa. At least one of them was an OT winner.
That's even going back to last year. He had the huge OT winner to knock out the Bruins.
Yeah, he's got. I can't remember how many it is, but he's like already like 70% of the way to the all-time playoff overtime goal record. Like, apparently he's just been doing this.
He scores a lot of big goals. He's one of those clutch guys in crunch time when you really need a goal. Like you said, he gets it done.
Yeah, so he's my pick, but I think there's up to like 5 guys that could very reasonably get it for this team.
Yeah, the team has been a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, that's not. We didn't even mention Matthew Kachuk or Sam Reinhart. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of good players there.
Moving on to Oilers Canucks. Start with the Oilers. The easy one. I mean,
some people might argue it's not as easy.
You could
for me-
argue Hyman,
for
but like
me-
it's McDavid.
I would say people would argue Draisaitl because he's got 5 more goals than McDavid and 1 more point. But
Yeah,
I'm
I would
still
still go
also going
McDavid.
Connor McDavid.
Yeah, he when he's out there, he changes the entire game.
Yeah, you can look at the stats, but when you watch the games, it's rather clear.
I think last night as well, he moved into third all time for like most ice time by a forward in a playoff game that didn't go to overtime. So just in the regulation time, he played 29-42, which is just a little bit more than in game 2 where he played 28-12. And like again, it's only the second round and you're already having to play McDavid almost the half the game. It is absurd, and at the level he's still playing at, despite like that's more than what most teams' number one defensemen play in a game. And McDavid's doing it as a forward in there, battling, whizzing
Skating
around,
like the
carrying
wind.
the puck, like, and in the corners battling, like, because Canucks are playing hard on him, as we've mentioned, and to be able to do what he's doing is like, it's crazy to just even comprehend what he's been able to do, given just how much he's having to play and how much of a toll that takes on your body and whatnot.
Yeah, and you know what? Dude wants to win. If he thinks the team isn't going to win without him on the ice, he's probably telling the coach, "Hey, I don't care if I go up to 40 minutes. Put me out there, so I can get it done."
I do like what the ref kind of did at the end of the Oilers Canucks game. Did you see what he did? Because Edmonton started Calvin Pickard for the third period.
Right.
And Edmonton had already used their timeout previously in the third period, and then they made it 4-3, and then McDavid line and like all their top guys were out there for like 2.5 minutes straight, and they get a shot on net, and it's covered, whistle blows. Edmonton, no, it was something like it was going to be a face-off at center ice, and Edmonton decides we're going to switch our goalies. Pickard's coming out, Skinner's going in to kind of use that as like a little bit of a timeout, so McDavid and everybody can get the rest back. And then once Skinner went in, all their top guys tried hopping over the boards to go on, and the ref was like, "No, like the line change is already done. You guys aren't getting a free timeout here and coming on. Like the line change is done." So they had to go back on. I think Edmonton ended up winning the faceoff, and they all hopped over anyways. But I did like that by the ref and being like, "I see what you guys are trying to do, but like."
That's a good call.
I'm not letting you get away with it, which
shout out to the ref. I wouldn't let them swap goalies again unless like at least another goal was scored on that goalie.
Yeah, exactly right. Especially because I'm pretty sure if Skinner because he ended up getting pulled again, and say Vancouver scored an empty netter, and then I guess Skinner would have had the loss either way. He would have been credited with the loss no matter what. Never mind. Scratch that.
Yeah. One thing I do want to just quickly throw out there, because we did not talk about it when we were breaking down the series, but McDavid's missed a high stick on Quinn Hughes. That is brutal.
Yeah. I kind of just swept that one under the rug at this point.
Quinn Hughes is standing there.
Oh, no, we did talk about that last episode.
Did he?
Didn't we?
Did we?
I don't know, actually. No, I don't think we did.
We might have talked about it over the weekend.
Yeah, we did over the weekend. Yeah, I just kind of swept under the rug like
from the face, like right.
I mean,
to
should have been a
penalty,
but like not a suspension or anything.
No,
but like should have been a penalty.
Yeah, they should have
double minor at that even.
Yeah, because it clearly drew blood, because to the point where he was bleeding, and the refs told him, "Hughes, you have to get off the ice. You're bleeding," and he's going, "Yeah, because I got hit in the face with a stick." So.
And you chose to ignore it.
If the guy is literally bleeding, you should be able that you now know if he's telling the truth, it's a double minor. You should have at least one of the refs go over and quickly check a replay.
And they've done it before. They've done it on plays and stuff, and then they end up being like, oh yeah, it's 5 minute major, it's now under review or something, and then they go and review it like after it's well and done. So
Yeah.
I thought they
So,
could have it. I don't think that it changed the outcome of the
yeah.
game
I hate refs
as
saying they
much as I
can't do
thought it was going
stuff
to at the
because
time. But
we've seen the refs do whatever they want. That like the rules really don't apply that much to the refs. The league's not going to be like, actually, this whole game's null and void because they reviewed a play when it was ineligible to be reviewed. Like, no,
yeah,
nobody's going to come after the refs because they made the right call because they decided to
well,
review
Oilers
it when they
fans might.
shouldn't. Like,
Oilers fans might. They're
yeah,
a rowdy bunch out there.
they're Canadian hockey fans. You think Bettman's going to listen?
True.
But
yeah,
anyway.
no, yeah, I agree. But moving back on track here, the Vancouver Canucks. Who do you got?
This one's a little bit tougher. There's quite a few ways you could go with it, but I'm gonna go with Brock Besser.
Yeah, I mean he's just a scoring machine. I'm going with JT Miller.
Yeah.
Not only again, kind of similar to Barkov. Not only what he's done offensively, but just being a dog on a bone in his own end, getting in passing lanes, blocking shots, being huge in the face-off circle. Like he's just been an absolute force for them, and a guy that's really kind of showing like this is why he got the contract he did. Not only the 100 points in the regular season, but now, look at me shine in the playoffs.
Yeah, and
especially also going up against McDavid and the boys. Yeah. He's usually out there up against them.
Yeah, and Brock Besser, 7 goals. He's one of the top goal scorers in the playoffs. He's tied with a couple guys in second behind Hyman and Nichushkin. He has 11 points in 9 games, but 9 of those points are even strength. He's only got 2 points on the power play, so he's getting it done at even strength as well. And he's a great player for them, but he is not one of those guys I would have pegged as this guy's going to show up in the playoffs.
Yeah,
he's going to carry them. And right now he's kind of doing that.
He's a big chunk of their offense, and they're in a really good spot now because of him. I mean, looking back to the National Series, they might not even make it out of the first round, if not for the heroics of Brock Besser.
Yeah. The Dallas Stars.
Wyatt Johnston. I mean,
I really like Wyatt Johnston, and I wanted to pick him, but Miro Heiskanen is their top scorer with 12 points, and he's got over 27 minutes of time on ice per game. I think he's just been doing so much for them. And I love Wyatt Johnston, and all his, very similar to Verhaeghe, all his goals have been so clutch that I don't think there's a wrong answer in those two. But
even Ottinger you could throw in there. He's looked a little shaky again, games 1-2 against Vegas, but since then he's really shut it down and like just been a beast in net for them. So
yeah, we'll
when you
get
got
to
3
him
guys, it's like
go over the goalie stats.
Yeah, when you got 3 guys, it's like kind of the top contenders. When kind of looking at everybody right now, it's looking good for Dallas based on what their guys have been able to do. And then Colorado, we can't pick them now. That's who I would have picked, but we can't pick them.
It's a fair shout. Obviously, we're talking about Nichushkin, but you got 3 guys all tied at the exact same crap. Mikko Rantanen, 9 games played, 3 goals, 9 assists, 12 points. Same stat line for McKinnon, same stat line for Makar.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Makar because he's doing the same as the other 2 as a defenseman.
You don't want to go Georgiev?
No.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean,
we will not be getting to Georgiev on the goalie stats.
I probably would pick Makar out of him again, just because, just what like McKinnon and Rantanen obviously bring a lot, but like what Makar brings from the back end, and especially on the power play and logging the minutes he does.
So far, it's not a lot of guys on the team without a penalty yet.
And he's out there, sometimes with, guys other than McKinnon and Rantanen, and he's still setting up great opportunities for these guys. He's been terrific for them, and it's kind of what we expected from him, as he's already got a Conn Smythe under his belt.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, I also would have picked Nichushkin at this point if that news didn't break earlier today.
yeah.
But that is
I think
yeah,
it's
that's
just
all.
the stats. Just the stats we're left with now.
Yeah. So we'll get to that here. You could probably piece it together if you were really listening throughout the entire episode. But for those of you who aren't sleuthing it out, we got Leon Draisaitl is first in the league in postseason points with 18 already, which is nuts. At second, of course, McDavid with 17. And then all tied with 13, you got Barkov, Kachuk, Evan Bouchard, and Mika Zibanejad. And
Yep.
for goals, both with 9, you got Nichushkin and Zach Hyman. And then all tied at 7, you got Draisaitl, Brock Besser, and Wyatt Johnston.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll go over to the goalies here.
I'm curious to hear these goalie stats and what we're looking at with them.
Yeah. For goalies with a minimum of 5 games played, we could probably bump that up, right? I guess I can only really go to 6 because I want to keep Seelovs in there. But for the let's go top 5 goalies in the playoffs. For sorted by goals saved above expected at 11.6, Jeremy Swayman, which is insane. 8.9 is really good for Shesterkin as well. 3.5 for UC Saros. 3.4 for Jake Ottinger and 3.2 for Arturs Seelovs. Seelovs is very marginally behind Ottinger so far in these playoffs, which
he's been good.
A lot to how he's played.
Yeah, I was firmly on the bandwagon of Vancouver might be in trouble with him going in up against Edmonton. He's one of those guys that's rose to the occasion, and
that's
maybe it's going to make a nice career for him, from this.
Yeah, and how good is that going to make Demko feel if he comes back in the conference final to know that he's got this guy backing him up who held down the fort for you and DeSmith? Like dude's gonna run DeSmith out of a job.
Yeah. I started to think about that earlier today. Yeah, that might be Vancouver's goalie duo for the next while now.
But going for save percentage, a lot of the same names here. A 930 for Jeremy Swayman, a 927 for Shesterkin, a 919 for Ottinger, a 908 for Arturs Seelovs, and even 900 for UC Saros. Pretty solid goaltending for those
Bobrovsky's there now.
Top 5. Yeah, they his stats were incredible after the first round, and it didn't take long for him to get smacked way down there, despite his team being up 3-1 in the playoffs in their current round. So he is Bobrovsky is sitting at just 0.5 goals saved above expected and 892 now.
Yeah.
So
happens quickly. I mean, and again, it's not a whole lot of games played. Like if you have back-to-back kind of rough games, it really drags it all down. So really, just kind of
892 looks bad, but like I said, 0.5 goals saved above expected. He's playing better than the average. Like he's saved half a goal more than he should have. So
and when he's on his game,
he's tough shots.
And when he's on his game, he's as good as any of those other guys at the top. It's just the guys at the top have just done it kind of consistently from the beginning of the playoffs. They haven't had those games, those one-off games that really drag it down at all.
Yeah.
Was that it for the stats we got there?
Yeah, that's all I got. We've already talked about the series enough. You all know the scores in those. So I guess that's about it for me.
Yeah, that covers everything I had. Thank you to everybody for tuning in to another episode of the Stick 'em Up podcast. We are coming out, as you know, twice a week. Feel free to share this to your friends. you got some buddies that like hockey, and you maybe want to listen with them, and debate some of the stuff, because I know we talked about a good lot of stuff in here, a lot of stuff that can be debated. And you can always follow us on our socials to let us know your opinion. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at SEU Hockey. Come say hi. Come let us know kind of your thoughts on some of these situations, and maybe if you saw it in a different point of view that we didn't or we didn't mention. Feel free to let us know what you think there.
Yeah, we we're only two guys. We only got our opinions. Sometimes we're different. Sometimes we're exactly on the same wavelength, even if that means we're against everybody else's opinion. So, if we are sounding like idiots, let us know.
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself. Once again, thank you to everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you guys later this week.